In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to assemble your off-grid tiny house using the parts that we have drawn. So you can see our 5 parts here: our front, back, end walls, our base, and our internal walls. We're just going to come over to our assembly studio down the bottom here and left click once. Okay, we need to insert our parts first so we can assemble them. So left click on insert. Okay, I can select these parts individually, or I can select my entire part studio. So I'm just going to left click once on part studio and bring all my parts over here to the work plane. So left click once. Okay, zooming in. Now it's given me one of everything. Okay, and they're all stacked on top of each other. We need to add in an extra end wall because we need 2 end walls. So I left click on that once. Left click over here, and I need one more internal wall. So left click and left click again. I can now click my green tick, and I now have all my parts necessary for my assembly. To fix this up here, all we need to do is click and drag on each individual part just to separate all those pieces. Okay, and now we're ready to start assembling. Before we start joining all the pieces together, it's good to get everything into a rough orientation. So we need to turn our end walls around so they're facing the right way. So if I just left click on one of my end walls, you can see it brings up these arrows and these direction tools. So I want to rotate my wall around this way. I will left click and hold on this little circle here, rotating around. Now you can see it gives me the degrees. I want to rotate 90 degrees. Now if you can't quite get it on there, that's okay. If I just release my left click and I press 90 degrees and hit enter, it will snap it in position for me. Left click away, and there we have it. I will do that for the other end wall. And the same thing with my internal walls. Okay, and then my base here, just going to rotate around 90 degrees, and I'm ready to start to assemble. So we're going to use a series of fasten mates which can be found up here on the toolbar, or M is our shortcut for our fastening mate. So first joint we're going to join this corner, this end wall to our front wall. So I'm going to zoom right in here, double click on right, zooming in on this corner, and you can see my axis coming up, so the blue, red and green lines. I want that blue axis pointing upwards, so left click while it's pointing up, zoom back out, and I'm going to join it onto this corner here of my front wall. Left click. Okay, and you can see that it starts to pull the part into place. Now I'm happy with that, so I'm going to click my green tick to solve that. Now the assembly studio automatically moves on to your next fasten mate. So what we'll do is we will fasten this corner here to our back wall. So I'm holding down my right click and dragging to rotate my workspace. Going to zoom in on this corner here, blue axis pointing upwards, left click once, and I want to get this back corner of my back wall, left click again. Okay, now you can see that that is overlapped, okay, because I needed to select this corner here, but that's okay because what we can do is start to offset, and I'm going to show you how to use that tool so it puts that wall in the right position. So if I come over to my offset button here, and I'm going to offset along the red axis. Okay, remembering our wall thickness is 3 millimeters, I'm going to type in 3. and hit enter. Okay, it's pulled the wall the wrong way, so let's do -3 and send it back the other way. Okay, and we can see now that that end wall is in the correct position. So green tick to solve that. Okay, and we have one end of our tiny house completed. We'll repeat those steps for this other end wall. Blue axis pointing upwards. Happy with that. Okay, and it's starting to come together. Next thing I'm going to do is insert my base into the bottom of my house. So zooming out and rotating around by holding the right click. Zooming in, and we will grab this corner here. With our blue axis, it's going to go along that edge. And we are going to join that into here. So we want our blue axis going horizontal, not vertical. And there we have our base in position. Okay, and we can start to see our tiny house coming together. So now we need to fit in our internal walls. So this internal wall here, this is going to slot into this place here. So I'll rotate around to the back. Zooming in, we will connect this corner here. Blue axis pointing upwards. Zooming back out into this corner here. So just going to rotate around. And there we have it, locked into the wall there. Repeat that for the other internal wall. And solve. Okay, we now have our internal walls inside our tiny home. One last thing we need to check is that our internal walls are locking into the base. Now we can see here something isn't quite right with the base. Okay, our internal wall isn't lining up. So what we need to do is we need to go back to our sketches and check our drawings. The first thing I'm going to start with is our back wall, because there's a lot more geometry on there that can sometimes conflict with all our other window geometries. So we'll go back to our Part Studio, open up the sketch for our back wall by double clicking. Okay, and it's this slot here that seems to be in the wrong position. So I'm going to left click on this point here. I'm going to come across and left click on this point here. And that's telling me that it is a distance of 101.49 millimeters. Now that should be 100. So to fix that, what we're going to do is go up and use our dimension tool. So left click on dimension. Left click on those 2 points again. Bring that up the top here. Left click. We're going to type in 100 and hit enter. And just solve that sketch. Now we're going to return to our assembly studio and see if that has fixed up our problem. And there we have it. We can see our internal wall is connected into our base and into our back wall there.